Hello! Welcome to the next lecture of ARCHLine.XP Advanced course, where we will be dealing with doors and windows. We will be working on a project by Andrea Nagy. Let's get started. Let's look in the Design Center under the Building menu, Doors, at the Indoor and Paneled subcategories. We will see that there are many different types of doors to choose from, but often we may not find the type of door we need for a particular project. In this case, we can create a unique door for which we can choose from 3 different methods. The first method is to use an image, then save it as a material and place it on the door leaf. The next method is to download an object from the 3D warehouse and save it as a door. The third method is to use the door wizard. Well, let's get to work and see what kind of doors we are going to create. I have downloaded some images from the manufacturer's site that we will use. Let's have a look at these. First, we are going to make this front door panel. In order to use this picture, we need to drag it onto the floor plan. So I drag and drop it into ARCHLine, then I place it. Then I have to save it to the library as a material. I do not change the name. The category should be My, and I have already created a subcategory called Door. I will save it there. This will pop up the Materials dialog, where we can set the properties. It is very important to set the position of the material not as style but as stretch. This way we will be able to fit this material nicely on the door. I accept with OK, so it is now in the library. Now we are going to work in 3D. To do that, I'll activate the window and choose another view. This door will be used to place the material we have just saved. I look for it in the Material library, in My category, and then in the Door subcategory. Here it is. I'll take it and simply drag it onto the door, and then I'll choose the Replacing one material with another on this Object command. Apparently, it looks okay, but let's look. If I rebuild only this model in 3D, I click on it and rebuild it with the hammer icon. I switch views to navigate easily in 3D. The material on the door frame also changed, and on the other side of the door, the material should be mirrored. So I need to save the mirrored image of the material as well. As you could see here before, I already have mirrored the image in the folder because I made it in advance. So now I'll just click on the door and enter its properties. I'll change the material of the frame. It should be beige. I'm able to specify separately the external and internal material of the door leaf. The outer material will be front door panel 1. The other side will be panel 2. Let's see if everything is set. I'll update the door preview by clicking Redraw. This makes the door ready. Let's look at it in 3D. Again, I'm just rebuilding the model of the door so we can see it from all sides. That's done with the first method. Now, I'm going to set up an interior view and I'm going to place a sliding door in there, which I'm going to download from the 3D warehouse as an object, then convert it into a door. Let's see how we can do that. I'm going to go back to the floor plan view, and then from the interior 3D warehouse, I'm going to start the direct download. Remember that you need to be logged in with your Trimble account to be able to download objects. I look for a sliding door. I go to the Models tab and choose this door. I choose the model 2022 since we are working with program version 2022. After downloading, I place it on the floor plan. Let's look at in the 3D. Now, if I were to place it in the wall like this as an object, the program would not cut out of the wall. That's why I have to save it as an opening. First, change the glass. I find the milky glass in the Material library, drag onto the sliding door, and then choose the Replacing one material with another on this Object command. This is how I'm going to save this door as an opening. But to make it work as a door, we need to take a few steps. The first task is to create the front view of the door and place it on the floor plan. I've done this in advance and also scaled it up so we know the exact dimensions. We also need to draw its floor plan symbol, since the top view of this object is not a standard door symbol. We can make such a symbol using a drafting tool, either rectangle or a polyline, which I also drawn in advance. Then we need to save this symbol as a group. I choose Drafting menu, 2D group, Create group in Library, and select the entire drawing. I accept it with Enter, and then I click through on the reference points. I start from the top left corner and move clockwise. I click on all the nodes. Then hit Enter to accept and save it to the library. This will be the sliding door plan. I'm going to save it in the category of Construction Details, Building. Then I right-click on the object and choose Edit Object, Convert to Door Window. On the left, we can see the floor plan symbol, which I need to change to the one I just saved. I load it from the library, Construction Details and Building category. Our next task is to set up what type of opening we create. This is of course a door. I'm going to leave the frontal view option active. We only need to do this if the frontal view profile is not rectangular. If we look at the door, it is not rectangular because it has an opening. If we save the door like this, the program would not cut out the wall in this part. So we therefore need to specify the front view profile as a rectangle. The next task is to set which is the front and which is the side of the door. This diagram will help us with that. Here, we will be able to set them up with the nodes. I'm going to grab it and adjust it in place. I accept it with OK and save it to the library, Indoor category and Sliding Door subcategory. I'm not overwriting the original object. I then drop the front view and edit it here to a regular rectangle. I will do this by deleting and moving unnecessary nodes. I'm going to start here. Click on the nodes and simply delete them. And then I'm going to move and delete those as well. If we look at it now, we got a regular rectangle. So now we will be able to use it as a door in the project easily. I'm going to accept it with Enter and go back to the floor plan. So I'm going to place it here. I look it up in the library. I drag and drop it onto the floor plan. I choose the command Place it from the wall endpoint. I switch a reference point with a spacebar and place it at the end of the plinth. Let's look at it in the 3D. I'm going to change its material. I'm going to change the insets to the same milky glass. So choose Find Material on the glass. Then drag it onto the panels. I'm also going to change the casing to steel material. I drag it on the door and change the material. We have finished creating the custom sliding door. Now we come to our third topic, which is the use of the door wizard. I'm going to go back to the floor plan. I'm going to work there. But first, I'm going to switch a view in 3D so we can see this front door again. In the following, I will create several doors which will be placed here. I'm going to delete the front door. Let's look in the folder at the next door we are going to create. This will be one from Jeff Holt's manufacturer. I'm going to drag this one in the same way onto the floor plan and place it. It is very important to scale this image to work with it very easily. To get a scaled image, we have used calibration so far, but now I will show you another simpler solution. I'm going to draw a rectangle 1000 mm by 2100 mm and paste the image into it. So I'm going to draw a rectangle that size with the drafting tool. Then I insert the image into it and stretch it to fit the rectangle. That way we can be sure that the image is scaled. The next step is to draw the case and insert. In the same way, I draw a rectangle around the corresponding parts of the door, thus obtaining their dimensions. And so now I will be able to measure very simple and will be able to tell exactly where the insert is located in the door leaf. I have already prepared this sizing in advance. I'm going to turn on the layer in the layer walk. It will be Japholz one. This will be the door I'm working with now. We will make the rest later. Here we can see its exact dimensions, so I will be able to work very easily in the door wizard. I go over the 3D window and zoom in on the floor plan view of the door so we can see it. I open the door wizard, which can be found under Building menu, Door, New Door. We will go through all the settings to make the door. Let's first look at the scheme where we can choose from several options. The new door can be single, double, asymmetrical, with top or side lighting, or even curved or slanted, or sliding doors. But all of them can actually be traced back to single wing door number 1. So if we learn to set this up and make it, then we will be able to work with the rest easily. The next setting is the main parameters, where I can set the overall width and height. As I said, this will be 1000 mm by 2100 mm door. The next is the representation. Here I can set the display of the threshold in 2D. I will turn this on now. I can also turn the display of the frame profiles bounding box on the 2D symbol. Set the marking of the opening direction symbol, which should remain curved, and the display of the opening direction in 3D. It can already be seen here. I will turn this off now. I can even open the panels. Let's look at in 3D. I will deactivate this as well. Let's go to the frame menu. Here I will be able to set the frame and its profile. This should be a rectangular profile. The profile should be 50 mm wide and 100 mm high. This will be fine. The door leaf will cover the case by 10 mm. We can also see that 40 mm is visible, and since the profile is 50 mm, it will cover 10 mm. Let's continue. The X and Y offset will now be 0. I can adjust the frame to match the thickness of the wall, so I can make a case that goes all the way around the wall, but that won't be necessary now. We will be able to set the material of the door, which is beige. Let's go further to the threshold. Here I choose the threshold 3 profile. The width of the profile will be 50 mm and the height 20 mm. I will not change the X and Y offset here either. The material, however, is also beige. The next is the panel menu. The door will open inwards and to the right, so that's what I set. The opening angle in 2D will be 90 degrees, and the opening angle in 3D can stay at 35 degrees. Here I can set the material of all sides of the door or separately the inner and outer sides. If I select all similar ones, I will be able to set them all at once. Let's go to the geometric properties. Here we have to adjust the thickness of the wing, which will be 40 mm, and the offset relative to the center line. So where the wing should be located in the case. This should be 50 mm, so we'll get a door that looks like this. Compared to a normal size, I will set the offset to 40 mm on 3 sides, on top and on 2 sides. I will show you why in a moment. I will update it. This is how we will get that 10 mm cover on the case. Let's move on to the edge profile. First, I'll show you what the door looks like when it's not on. So then it looks like this. I turn it on and see the settings. I open the door so we can see the changes. I'm going to go back to the edge profile. The profile should be panel edge 3. I adjust its width and height. Its width will be 20 mm and its height 40 mm. That is how we are going to achieve what we are used to seeing on the doors in real life. That's what we have such a staggered design. And so the door will cover the case nicely. I'll close the door and let's check it closed too. Let's go to the Insert menu to create the insert we see on the right. We can prepare this in several ways. I can adjust the distances from the right, left, and bottom top sides. This is the first option. If I turn off the use of offset for all sides option, I can enter the size of the insert and the XY offset. I will now choose the first option and enter the distance from the sides. The offset is 590 mm from the left side, 150 mm from the right side, 220 mm from the top, and 180 mm from the bottom. I still need to set the thickness of the insert, which will be 5 mm. We will be able to see the changes by clicking on the refresh button. I set its material to milky glass, which we also used for the sliding door. We have to adjust the insert edge profile too. I will extrude the edge profile from the wing, so I will adjust the thickness of the edge profile of the insert. First, I select the edge profile type. Let it be Panel Inset Edge 5. I will adjust the dimensions. Its width should be 20 mm and its height 50 mm, so it will stand out, since the thickness of the wing is 40 mm. It is very important to select the Align Profile to Middle option here. Let's see. Let's go to the next menu items. These are the inner and outer handle. The type of the handle can remain classic, but I will choose bronze material, and for the outside handle I'm going to set spherical handle like this one, and I'm going to select the bronze light material for that as well. We can add additional decorative elements to the door in the Accessorize menu. I'm not going to do that now, but I'm going to save the door in the library. Its name should be Jeff Holtz 1. The category should be Indoor, and I will create a subcategory called Jeff Holtz Doors. Then accept it with OK. I switch to the floor plan view and place it. I will specify the opening direction. I have to modify the planes because the previous door was only 900 mm. Let's see it in 3D. Let's see what the next door will look like. Now we will make one where the insert is centered. Actually, I will not create a new door, but I will modify the previously placed door, and I will do it several times during the video. So I go back to the 3D view, right-click on the door and select Opening Properties. We are back in the door wizard, and this is where I'm going to modify its properties. Since I only need to change the inset, I'm going to go into the Inset menu and adjust the spacing so that it is centered. It will be located 370 mm from both sides, so left and right. I redrew it with the refresh button, and we are actually done with it. I save it to the library under the name Jeff Holtz 2. And if I accept it with OK, the program changes the placed door. The next one will be a door where I will place two vertical inserts. I will make this the same way. I click on it with the right mouse button, then I choose Opening Properties. I will start from the door Jeff Holtz 1. At the selected door at the bottom, I look it up in the library. I will be able to add additional insert to a door leaf by clicking on the plus button in the Insert menu. I need to adjust the dimensions of this as well. The offset from the left side will be 260 mm and from the right side will be 460 mm. Also with the other inset, the offset will be 220 mm from the top and 180 mm from the bottom. I will also change the material to milky glass, which we used before. I also need to adjust the insert edge profile. Now one is selected, which is one on the right. If I open the list and select 2, I will be able to set its properties. So here too I select the insert edge profile 5 and adjust its width and height. If we look at it now, I won't be able to adjust its height because the stretch profile to panel width option is selected here. I have to set this to Align Profile to Middle option, and now I will be able to set its height to 50 mm. So we are done with this door. We can save it in the library. This will be Jeff Holtz 3 type door. And I will save it there in Door, Jeff Holtz Door category. I go back to the floor plan and let's see which door is going to be the next one. On the face of it, it looks a bit more complicated, but we can create it very simply. We can do it by creating a new insert, but then we would have to enter a lot of values and we will have to know exactly with what height and at what distance to the right and left these inserts are placed. I'm going to show you a very simple way to create this, and that is to create a multiple profiles. So I'm going to choose the Drafting, New Profile, Define Multiple Profile. We will save this profile in the library, which we will be able to refer to in the door wizard. Thus, with a few clicks, we will be able to create this door with multiple inserts. So I'm going to choose the multiple profile, and then I choose the option Closed Loop, inner point of an area command. I click into one of the drawn inserts, then enter the reference point on the left, and again use the command to go through all of them. Then I accept with Enter and I save this profile in the library. Let it be Jeff Holtz 4 profile. I will save it in the Door and Window category in Panel Frontal Profiles subcategory. I go back to the 3D window. Here I click on the door with the right mouse button, then select Opening the Properties again. I will delete one of the inserts in the Insert menu, since I only need one now. Here, by clicking on the plus button, I will select the frontal profile that I just saved earlier. Right now, we don't see exactly what is here on the right. For that, I still have to adjust the distances from the right and left sides. I move it 170 mm from the left side and 160 mm from the right side, 320 mm from the upper side and 560 mm from the lower side. I update it and we made the complicated door very simply in a few steps. I also save it to the library as Jeff Holtz 4 and we check it in 3D. Let's also look at the next door. We will prepare this in the same way. We save this pre-drawn profile as a multiple profile and then select the frontal profile in the door wizard. I have already prepared this in advance, so I will only work in the door wizard. I go back to the 3D view and start it. I go to Insert menu and click on the plus button to find the Jeff Holtz 5 profile, and then adjust the distance from its sides. The right and the left sides will be 160 mm and the bottom and top will be 180 mm. I update it and we are done with it, so we can save it to the library under the name Jeff Holtz 5 and accept it with OK. In the following, I will show you how to create a door or window profile in the program. Let's see what exactly I mean. Here I have already drawn this insert in advance, which will be a glass insert with thin dividers between them. I can access the door or window profile command in two places, either here in Drafting, New Profile or Building, Door, New Door. So that's what I'm going to choose now. The program helps us how to prepare it. We have already created a closed or even an open profile, but not yet one with a closed profile and several open profiles. So that's what we are going to look at now. First, I will create a contour with a rectangle, so the closed profile into which I will create open profiles. So I will draw these vertical and horizontal lines. I draw the first vertical one, then I press Enter and draw the next one. I can always draw a new line after pressing Enter. So after drawing each line, I press Enter. When we are ready, we will be able to close the command with one more Enter and save the profile in the library. This should be a door profile, and I will save it in the door and window category, panel frontal profile subcategory. I accept it with OK and go back to 3D. Then click on the door again with the right mouse button. I will select the opening properties and I will select the profile I just saved for the insert. I turn on the Insert Edge profile and adjust the distances. I set the left and right sides and the top side to 180 mm and the offset from the bottom to 220 mm. The thickness of the insert should be 5 mm. I'm going to set its material to milky glass we used several times before. I'm going to make a few more adjustments to the Insert Edge profile. I will set the height and the width of the profile to 10 by 10 mm, so we will get the thin dividers. I will also change the material of this one to the bronze light material, and we are actually done with that. I save it to the library under the name Jeff Holt 7 in the same category as the previous ones. Let's see it in 3D. The last topic I will present will be how to make a sliding door in a door wizard. In Seams, I will select the sliding out one type door. So we are going to make a single leaf sliding door with an external track and look at its settings. Let's move on to the main parameters. The size can remain. For the representation, we will see the same settings that we have used so far, but I will turn on the display of the opening direction here. In 3D, we can open this door in the same way. Let's go to the frame. There are no side frames here. The top frame will present the track, for which I will set a U-shaped profile. So here in Profiles, I will look for the U profile. I have to change its position. I have to mirror it. By clicking on the pencil, I get the correct position with mirroring it along the y-axis. I will set the width and height of the profile. Here the values will be exactly the opposite. So the width will indicate the height and the height will indicate the width. Its width will be 100 mm and its height will be 50 mm. I will set the X and Y offsets. The X offset will be minus 100 mm. This is how the door leaf will run in the track after the leaf adjustment. And I set Y offset to 0, then the door will run in the middle of the track. Its overhang will be 1010 mm. When we open the door, the track will extend beyond the wing by 10 mm, and we are going to set its material to aluminium, this bright aluminium. Let's go further to the threshold. I will enable the threshold and select the threshold 3 profile. The width of the profile will be 50 mm and its height should be 5 mm, and here I will also set the 1010 mm length addition. I will also set the material to bright aluminium. I will not change the X and Y offsets. Let's move on to the wing and panel. Here I can specify the material as well as the opening doors. I will select all similar ones here and find Exot 03 from the list. And then we can go further to geometric properties. Here I can set the thickness of the wing, let it be 20 mm. We can move it in relation to the center line, but that's good for us. It will run completely in the middle of the track. What I still have to adjust is that I have to move the upper side to minus 90 mm so the wing will fit nicely into place. And in fact, we can place inserts in it, in the same way as we did for other doors during the workshop. I will save this sliding door to the sliding door subcategory, then I accept this with OK, and I will also reserve the opening direction so that it opens to the other side. Finally, let's do a 3D opening animation to see how this sliding door opens. If you want to learn more about making sliding doors, I recommend the sliding door tutorial video uploaded to ARCHLine website, which you will find among the interior design videos. There we will show you in more detail how you can make different types of sliding doors. This brings us to the end of today's video. I hope it was useful for you, and we will see you at the next workshop. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.